Number 1. Coca-Cola, a pharmacist's accidental empire. In 1886, Atlanta pharmacist John Pemberton accidentally created a syrup that a pharmacy clerk mixed with carbonated water. Customers loved it. Pemberton died in 1888, never knowing what he had started. Businessman Asa Candler bought the rights, incorporated the Coca-Cola Company in 1892, and immediately went to work. In 1899, Candler sold bottling rights across the United States, creating a franchise model that scaled the brand at breathtaking speed. By 1906, Coca-Cola had bottling plants in Canada, Cuba, and Panama. World War II turbocharged global reach even further. When the U.S. military ensured soldiers abroad could always find a bottle, the company kept buying and expanding, eventually owning over 500 brands across 200 countries. Today, its brand alone is valued at over $106 billion. A pharmacy accident turned into the most recognized product in human history. That is what the right buyer and the right system can do. Number 2. Ford, one man, one vision. Henry Ford founded Ford Motor Company on June 16, 1903, after 2 failed attempts. The Model T arrived in 1908 and changed everything. But the real weapon came in 1913 when Ford's Highland Park plant introduced the world's first moving automobile assembly line. It cut build time from over 12 hours to 93 minutes. Cars that once only the wealthy could afford were now within reach of ordinary workers. Ford doubled down in January 1914 by paying workers $5 a day, more than double the industry standard. Workers flooded in. Productivity soared. Costs dropped further. By 1918, half of all cars in the United States were Model Ts. Ford went on to build the River Rouge complex in Michigan, one of the largest industrial facilities ever constructed. At its peak, raw materials went in one end and finished cars rolled out the other. One man's stubborn vision industrialized the entire world. Number 3. Goldman Sachs, banking on every crisis. In 1869, German immigrant Marcus Goldman started buying merchants short-term debt in a lower Manhattan basement. His son-in-law Samuel Sachs joined in 1882, and the name Goldman Sachs was born. The firm joined the New York Stock Exchange in 1896. In 1906, they underwrote the Sears-Watts PO and established themselves as serious Wall Street players. They nearly collapsed after a disastrous fund failure in the 1929 stock market crash, but they rebuilt. By the mid-20th century, Goldman Sachs was advising the most powerful corporations on earth. They went public in 1999, raising $3.66 billion in one of the biggest IPOs of the era. Through the dot-com bust, the 2008 financial crisis, and every market shock in between, they emerged stronger each time. Today, Goldman Sachs manages trillions in assets and operates in over 30 countries. Every crisis in history has somehow made them more powerful. That's not luck. That is strategy. Number 4. American Express, pivoting saved everything. American Express started in 1850 as a freight delivery company in Buffalo, New York. Henry Wells, William Fargo, and John Butterfield moved valuables across a nation expanding west. The pivot came in 1882 with a money order product, then in 1891 with the traveler's check, which revolutionized how people moved money abroad. Then in 1918, the U.S. government seized Railroad Express operations and wiped out American Express's core business overnight. Instead of dying, the company leaned entirely into financial services and travel. The charge card launched in 1958 changed everything. The gold card followed in 1966, platinum in 1984. Each tier built an image of exclusivity that competitors could not easily copy. The famous Don't Leave Home Without It campaign, launched in 1975, cemented the brand in global culture. Today, American Express processes over $1.5 trillion in annual card spending across 140 million cards worldwide. A freight company that lost its freight business built a financial empire instead. Number 5. Kellogg's cornflakes were an accident. Around 1894, brothers John Harvey and Will Keith Kellogg accidentally left cooked wheat sitting out overnight at their Battle Creek Sanitarium in Michigan. When they ran it through rollers the next day, it flaked instead of forming dough. They toasted the flakes. Patients loved them. Will later tried the same process with corn and got an even crispier result. The brothers then fought bitterly. John wanted a health product. Will wanted to add sugar and sell to the mass market. Will won the legal battle, and in 1906 founded the Battle Creek Toasted Cornflake Company. He spent aggressively on advertising at a time when few companies did. He pioneered inbox prizes and celebrity endorsements to drive sales. The company eventually rebranded as the Kellogg Company, expanding into dozens of cereals and snack brands globally. Today, Kellogg's products are sold in over 180 countries. A forgotten batch of wheat and a family feud built a breakfast empire worth billions. Number 6. Nintendo, cards to gaming giant. In 1889, Fusajiro Yamauchi founded Nintendo in Kyoto, Japan, making hand-painted Hanafuda playing cards. By the early 1900s, Nintendo was Japan's biggest card seller. For decades, the company tried and failed at other ventures: instant rice, taxis, ballpoint pens. The real break came in the 1970s when Nintendo entered the electronic toy market. In 1981, designer Shigeru Miyamoto created Donkey Kong, which became a phenomenon in arcades across the world. The character, later renamed Mario, became the most recognizable face in gaming history. Then in 1983, Nintendo launched the Nintendo Entertainment System and single-handedly revived a video game industry that had completely crashed. The Game Boy followed in 1989, the Wii in 2006, the Switch in 2017. Each console redefined how people play games. Today, Nintendo has sold over 5 billion games and generated hundreds of billions in revenue. A 19th century card workshop became the most beloved entertainment company on the planet. Number 7. Johnson & Johnson, healing through every war. In 1886, three brothers, Robert, James, and Edward Johnson, started making sterile surgical dressings in a New Jersey wallpaper factory with 14 employees. They were inspired by surgeon Joseph Lister's discovery that airborne germs were killing patients on operating tables. In 1888, they released the world's first commercial first aid kit. Soldiers in the Spanish-American War in 1898 carried Johnson & Johnson supplies. Both world wars created enormous demand for their wound care products. The Band-Aid launched in 1921 and became one of the best-selling consumer products ever made. The company kept expanding into baby care, pharmaceuticals, and medical devices, Tylenol, contact lenses, HIV therapies. Through every war, pandemic, and health crisis of the past 140 years, Johnson & Johnson was present. Today it is one of the largest healthcare companies in the world, operating in virtually every country. Three brothers with 14 employees built an empire that outlasted every generation after them. Number 8. Colgate, 200 years of clean. In 1806, a 23-year-old English immigrant named William Colgate opened a soap and candle factory on Dutch Street in New York City. Toothpaste did not exist yet. In 1873, the company introduced its first toothpaste sold in jars. Then in 1896 came the collapsible tube, a packaging breakthrough that turned brushing teeth from an occasional habit into a daily global ritual. In 1928, Colgate merged with the Palmolive Peet Company, and global expansion accelerated rapidly. The company planted itself in international markets early, long before most American consumer brands thought globally. By the late 20th century, Colgate dominated oral care on every continent. Today, Colgate-Palmolive operates in over 200 countries, holds roughly 41% of the global toothpaste market, and generates nearly $20 billion in annual revenue. It owns some of the most trusted household names on Earth. A candle and soap shop from 1806 became a 2-century-old global institution. Number 9. Jim Beam, 8 generations, 1 recipe. In 1795, Jacob Beam sold his first barrel of corn whiskey in Kentucky. It was called Old Jake Beam Sour Mash, and it immediately stood out among the nearly 2,000 distillers competing in the state at the time. Generation after generation of the Beam family kept refining and scaling the operation. Then in 1920, Prohibition shut everything down. Jim Beam, the great-great-grandson of Jacob, waited 13 years for the ban to lift. When it did in 1933, he was 69 years old and he rebuilt the distillery by hand in just 120 days. He relaunched using the original family recipe under his own name. The gamble paid off enormously. Jim Beam became the best-selling bourbon brand in the world. Today it is available in over 200 countries and is owned by Beam Suntory, one of the largest spirits companies on Earth. 8 generations, 1 recipe, an unbroken line from 1795 to today. Number 10. UPS, started with a bicycle. On August 28, 1907, 2 teenagers named Jim Casey and Claude Ryan borrowed $100 and set up a messenger service in a basement beneath a Seattle saloon. 2 bicycles, 2 phones, 6 boys on foot. In a city where most homes had no telephone, a human messenger was often the only way to send information across town. They merged with a motorcycle service in 1913, bought their first Ford Model T, and shifted focus to package delivery. By 1919, they had expanded beyond Seattle and renamed the company United Parcel Service. By the 1970s, UPS was operating coast to coast and entering international markets. In 1988, they launched their own airline to keep pace with FedEx. The company went public in 1999 in the largest IPO in U.S. history at that time, raising $5.5 billion. Today, UPS employs roughly 490,000 people and delivers packages to 220 countries, from 100 borrowed dollars and 2 bicycles to a $91 billion global giant. That is one of the greatest business stories ever told.